How are we doing? Okay, so to start with, first of all, I want like to thank Dialox Axiata and especially Ideamart to being our partner and also what I would also call really a strategic partner in this whole journey. So today to start the keynote, and this keynote is going to be actually telecast worldwide, and also it's available in the other locations with their keynotes. So first of all, a warm welcome from Sri Lanka to all the other keynote speakers as well as other TADHack locations. So from Colombo, we will be actually running this TADHack in Sri Lanka, in Colombo and in Jaffna. And to start the keynote, we want to talk about a journey with Ideamart with hSenid Mobile. As we all know, Ideamart we started 3 years ago. It started at a very, very small concept, and it's something that nobody thought that it will gain this momentum. So what I want to do is, possibly to introduce Anthony Rodrigo is the CIO of Dialox Axiata. And I'd like to start the session, Anthony, for if you can go back the memory lane and start maybe at the very beginning of how it all started, and some of the thoughts that you had when we started the process.
Sure. Can you all hear me? Yeah. So yeah, pleasure indeed. So Dinesh, as you know, maybe 3 years ago,
Yes.
We had this idea of how do we as a telco innovate beyond the BAU products. Typically, one puts out 10, 12, 15 products annually, max. So we want to see, can we do 100 products a year? Coupled with that, also we want to see how do we partner with the developers and the OTTs to co-innovate. And the third factor was, we have huge investments on core equipment, the telco assets, BSS, etc. How to squeeze more revenue from that investment. So, like most telcos do, at that time the fad was SDPs. Right? So we've seen these SDPs being deployed everywhere, but there wasn't much going on. So we thought, let's have a go, but with a twist. So we deployed SDP to open some telco assets, but also build something on top of that to make the innovation easier, engagement easier. So that's how we started. But before we could invest, there was a major question mark. Where's the money? The business case.
The ROI.
ROI. And it's tough because for a telco, you have the typical business plan model. You're used to modeling it based on data or minutes, but this is a very different business model. So frankly, at that time, there was a question mark around the business case. How do we make money on this thing? But with partnering with hSenid, we decided to, build a unique model to go to market, and we started. So I think, Dinesh, as you remember, as we took off, first 6 months also was not that interesting.
Yeah, it was a tough 6 months, So I think with that, when you were starting it, what were some of the oppositions that you got from within? And because this was a radical, this was not your normal WAS service that was coming out. So what were some of the oppositions you had at the very early stage?
So I think the first roadblock was really internally, it's about the business case, right? And the second one is about, will this cannibalize our existing business? Because you are essentially sharing revenue with others. The telcos typically get more share than the content provider. In this model, we want to flip it, right? So there was initial kind of pushback, okay, should we do this? Does it make any sense for our business, etc.
So how do you think, I think one of the biggest questions that have been asked currently is how well is Ideamart doing? how many API calls, how many developers, everybody is very curious about this Ideamart, so maybe you can share some information on that.
Yeah, sure. So it's been almost 3-year journey. Over the last, especially the last 2 years, I think we built close to, together with you guys, 4,800 applications and services. There is around 2,500 active developers in the community. In terms of API calls, I think well above 40-50 million API calls a month. That's a huge volume for this small island. Now, in terms of revenue impact to Dialog, these are the digital service basically. So digital, we have the usual business lines, starting from payment to commerce, advertising, and this fourth vertical, which is APIs. So we are seeing a significant contribution from APIs now to the business. So it's done well over the last 2 years.
So which is actually, if you think about it, it's no longer maybe just a vast service, but it's becoming more of a very core important from a overall.
Exactly, it's no longer a hobby, right? It's no longer a sideshow, a vast, it's really a core business line for us now.
So coming back, if you really look at innovation and also building products, how has this changed from Dialog perspective on product innovation and go-to-market?
That's a great question. In fact, we woke up maybe about a year ago. So we launched it 3 years ago for others to innovate on our APIs. However, then we want to hang on a minute. If others can innovate on these APIs, why not Dialog itself? Why not we start building APIs on the same ecosystem, right? Apps. So what's happened in Dialog is that now everybody from business lines to IT to engineering to even HR building apps and services on the same APIs.
So these are internal applications.
These are internal applications. You could call them enterprise applications. So it will help various business lines or HR, for example, to interact with employees. It can be simple stuff from leave application to even password resets, right? Built through these apps.
Which would have taken.
See, typically you would do a CR or go to external vendor, you might spend months doing this, right? Now within days, we launch these things. And I think more importantly, there have been several business applications built within days as opposed to months.
Weeks or months. That's fantastic. So coming back to Ideamart itself, Anthony, do you think that the success of Ideamart is replicable in other markets? Is it relevant in international markets?
Yes, with a caveat. So let me explain why. One would think that, okay, if you look at the legacy telco APIs and thinking, when you say APIs, you talk about DOB or carrier billing, SMS, location. These are 3 famous APIs, right? So most telcos would begin to say now, well, you know what, because there are more smartphones out there, maybe it's not relevant. But I don't think so, because the reason is, when you say app, what comes to mind? Is it a smartphone app? I think most people do, right? It's a smartphone app. But I think not. An app for us can be obviously a smartphone app, can be a web app, or a dumb phone app. Now the thing is, these smartphone apps or web apps, you can have a mashup somewhere out there. You mash up a telco API with some other cool web APIs. The combination gives you the interesting scenario. So I think smartphones actually add to the mix. It makes it easier. So indeed, the model can apply in other countries. However, now the second point is that we call it PE, spelled PEE, not the one thing about, but P as in platform, engagement, education, right? Now, building the platform is the baseline, foundation, right? But that alone, it just won't fly. You have to educate the developers, you guys. We have to engage the developers, explain how this thing works, right? Even that alone will not fly. That's why I said 6-7 months nothing happened, because we had just built a platform and said, okay, let's see what happens. So the engagement, the part very important for us is that events like these, meetups, hackathons, where you really engage developers to build those applications, right? That's what makes it work. So in any part of the world, it will work. Build a platform, educate, engage, and finally the app is not just a smartphone app. It can be any one of those applications running on the web platforms or app, smartphone or a platform.
So I think if you really look at it, there's a lot of local relevance that comes in here, where they actually build app, which can be whether it's a smartphone or whether it's a feature phone app. But if there is local relevance, you will have a group of followings and group of subscribers.
This is really important, Dinesh, because I think in the past, what's happened is that people copy ideas, right? But you can't do this in this context. These applications are very localized. So what you can copy is a concept. You can do this type of thing. But in different country, you have to figure out what to innovate there. So that means the local community has to innovate there. So as a telco, you are basically providing the assets, the ecosystem to build. The innovation is out here. You guys do it. Right?
Innovation comes from the peripheral, not from us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you think of, I think because now from the telco APIs and becoming, especially in the last couple of years, it's becoming not again, being in the back burner, but more of a mainstream. But if you look at many telcos also around the world, and still experimenting. But if somebody wants to really start and like engage and develop an ecosystem and go to market, what advice would you give them for a fresh telco?
Yeah, I think the first step would be to build that platform. Right? So you have a way to abstract your assets. Assets do not just mean carrier billing and SMS. If you look under the hood of telco, there are hundreds of APIs. So you can pick which assets you're going to expose. Right?
Once you're sitting on a gold mine.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, in Dialog, we have a whole bunch of other APIs we haven't exposed yet, but we will soon. Right? So you have that asset base. Once you expose that, you then start doing the other two E's, the education engagement. But do think beyond just apps. It's any application, software application that can run on the cloud or on the phone or anywhere. Investment is really small, I think, to get started. Your real investment is going to be in people engaging. Because this cannot, main advice for telco is you can't put this out there as a RAS service and just let it run on its own. It's not autopilot. You have to actively engage community and partner with them.
So I think that's very important, and I just want to maybe dig that a little bit further, because if you really look at, this is a paradigm shift for telcos, because it's not the traditional ways an operator or a telco would actually do. They would probably, decide on this is what we want to do a, maybe months of ROI and then come to market. In that aspect, you said that really that you're sitting on a gold mine, and then for you to really take it out and really make that happen, you have to do that education and the engagement. Is that the two you see the real differentiator of making it a success in a platform like this?
Yeah, this is what happened in Dialog actually. We, as I mentioned, platform was there, but until we engaged, it didn't fly. Engagement goes in both directions. while you engage the community and they learn from you, very importantly, you learn from the community. You figure out what they're looking for, right? And then you start exposing more APIs. So we had, I think, initially 3 APIs. Now we have 7 or 8 APIs out there. So we start
more to come.
More to come. So the thing is that when you're learning what the business needs, you expose those. But you wouldn't know that unless you engage.
That's fantastic, you know. So what's the future of Ideamart?
It's going to be good, right? It's going to be interesting because, as I mentioned, we only exposed a few APIs today, maybe 8, 9 APIs, but under the hood we have hundreds of APIs that in fact we use internally today. So we will be exposing those APIs as we go along, and also the Ideamart product will extend. So as you guys know, we have a few template apps today. So we have the appetizer module where we will, with hSenid, give you another framework to build smartphone apps in 5 minutes. Really, 5 minutes.
Downloadable apps with the built-in telco assets.
Exactly. So with that, I mean, it can change the game in terms of how various apps are launched in certain segments. Along with that, we'll also do some other telco assets we'll expose in the next quarter or 2. So we'll create you an interesting playground of, we call this in Dialog Legos. We give Legos to people to play with, and you can then build on top of these Legos, right? So you will get Lego blocks to play with.
What are some of the apps that you have seen in Ideamart that actually something that you liked, or what are some of the things that you can share with?
I mean, I like personally. Let me think. Yeah, so there's that one app that comes to mind. I mean, there are many apps. I said 4,800 apps, right? This app, I remember because it impacted me personally. So, so the idea was, it's a music app. Now this app is not, let's say it's not running on a phone, okay? It's a web app. So there was a party at my house. A lot of young people running about, old people, my age, young people, asking for music, right? So, of course, I don't have a huge collection of music that carry all the full range of.
For the new generation.
New generation, yeah. So, I recall the app. So let's fire it up, see what happens. So, we just on the big TV put on this particular URL, and told the guys, look, why don't we just simply SMS the song that we want to play. So people were typing these songs, sometimes misspelled, but the system picked up the right title and played it on the TV. So everybody had watched, kids and adults all just kept experiencing, right? So this is a very interesting play of, okay, the API is simple, the telco is SMS, right? But on the back end of it, there's a bunch of web APIs working really hard to decipher that SMS, find the right tune and play. So for me, it was an interesting application where it had real use. And we had a ball. I mean, people were just experimenting with this. And it's amazing how, from young to new generation, they were just picking these songs. And similarly, there are charity apps. There are also enterprise apps that we have launched to help inventory and Salesforce automation.
The charity app itself is a very interesting also because it's also mesh up not only your charity but also you link with Facebook and so I think that's been taking off very well.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you can see dashboards, live dashboards, and yeah.
So I think we are coming to the end of the keynote. So we were given a specific time. So the last question is, what's your message for the Ideamart developers?
That's a tough one, Dinesh. Because you guys innovate. I'm not sure what I can say to you all in terms of what to create because innovation is right here. I know based on my observations the last couple of years, the key message I can give you guys is don't build an app for a quick buck. What I have seen here in the last 2 years in Sri Lanka is that those who build an app that's sustainable, you actually engage the users, you get feedback, you continuously improve the app. These guys win, big time. So think of that app, okay, you launch, but don't give up. Even if it fails, keep fine tuning it, iterate very, very fast. Eventually you'll make it, right?
The perseverance to really, get the input from the community, get
Exactly.
input from your subscribers, and really go on improving it.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So that's it for the Colombo keynote from Sri Lanka TADHack 2015. And I'd like to personally thank Anthony Rodrigo, CIO of Dialox Axiata, being with us here and sharing your ideas. And it's I think it's a journey that hSenid Mobile started with Dialox 3 years ago. And to me personally, I don't think we ever thought that this would actually take off as it has taken off in the last 3 years. So I really like to give my gratitude for Dialox Axiata, especially for Anthony, to going out and actually making it happen. And on behalf of all the developers and hSenid Mobile, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Good luck, guys.